Lights, cameras, action. Now let's engage in the dialogue. Let me browse through your mind like a catalog. Conscious metaphysics, allow me to break down the specifics. Educate, motivate. If you don't feel free, you can liberate. An LLC is what I'm building, the #1 podcast in the building. So let me slide on up in the Bentley truck in my Versace shirts. They can't get enough of this deep conversation, expansion, elevation. I'll send you a link you can tap in. It ain't quite what I used to do back then. Now I get it on the front and the back end. Multiple money streams keep coming in. Enlightened, empower, evolve. Enlightened, empower, evolve. Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryant Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I believe everyone's doing well and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again because I have an amazing guest who is ever evolving constantly, enjoys reciprocating, loving energy, hikes, swimming, training, ranching, and just so much more. Wow. Without further ado, I introduce to you Alyssa. How are you doing today, Alyssa?
Hey everyone, I'm doing good today. How are you?
Wow, just amazing. And no, I just wanted to just kind of set up how we met. We met at a mutual friend's house. I was with my wife, and you were with. Is that your boyfriend, husband, friend?
Yes, husband Peter.
Husband, Peter. But the thing is, we were talking about just we were resonating, or we had a resonating conversation about like just like spiritual things. And I think you were talking about, if I'm not mistaken, like meditation and yoga and things like that. So yeah, we kind of got into it. What I want,
Yeah.
and and that was amazing. And that let me know, because I believe in like the universe sending, giving me in my, as long connecting with my intuition, and just sending me messages like, I get this energy like, wow, I was supposed to talk to this person. Do you get that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because if you really remember, we kind of met at Jay's fight at the boxing match.
Right,
And
right,
then
yes,
and then we made it the next day to the same mutual party and then we really like connected.
yes.
Um, so
And I
yeah,
think
I'm the same way. I'm like, I was meant to meet this person, or I maybe asked for something and then this person just kind of popped up or whatnot. But I love that it was like a group thing because it was like me, your wife, and
right,
then my husband,
right.
and then Armando and Nicole. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah, it
really
was,
cool.
yeah, it was amazing. And yes, even my wife was like, yeah, you should have her on your show. And I thought about that. Well, even before she even said that, I said, you know what? Yeah, it would
Oh,
be great. But yeah, give us a little feedback on maybe an extension of what we were talking about then. Like what are some of your inspirations in regards to like yourself and growth and spirituality and just the universe or whatever. Just give us a little feedback on what you're into right now.
gosh, what am I into right now? Well, right now I'm into like I'm building a studio for my massage business, but I'm actually being really called to like open a business for massaging animals. And I when I like made that decision internally, I was given this goat, baby goat, and her name is Fallon,
Right.
and she had a broken leg. Her mom had kind of stepped on her or whatnot when she was a baby, when she was born. And so she had a broken leg and it was kind of like stiff. And one of my specialties is essentially helping a body recover pretty quickly. I use my Reiki, I use essential oils, plus I also use just my skills. But most importantly, my gift from God, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so that's kind of what I'm into right now. I'm really trying to navigate why I usually say, like, why God is having me go down this path. Because if you would have asked me this like 5 years ago, there's no way I would have guessed. But yeah,
That,
so
you know
I don't
what?
know why I'm there.
And let's just tap into that just a little bit. Not any details, but
Sure.
I just pick up on things, and I resonate with what you're saying. If I was to ask you, that years ago. That is the same with me. I say I started my quote unquote transformation um about 5 or 6 years ago. And prior to that, I would say, and I'm willing to say this without getting into too much detail, but I was on a self-destructive path, myself. And I got to a point where I had to stop looking outside and, for blame and this and that. I mean, we all have ups and downs the way we were brought up, influenced by people, parents, whatever. But the bottom line is it's my life, it's your life. So we have to salvage something out of that, take responsibility and, do that. And at that point, I wasn't. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm still not perfect, but I do say I am a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. That's my next t-shirt that I'm gonna have printed up now. I have on
Yeah,
one of
I love
my creations right now, and
it.
it's
At
this one right
it.
here. I
I
love
love it.
myself
I love it.
unconditionally. So yeah, I love wearing empowering
I
t-shirts,
was
and
looking at your gear. I was looking at
yeah,
your gear. I was like,
yeah, I
oh,
hadn't seen that
cute.
as much empowering stuff out there as I would like that resonated with me. So I said, let me start making my own. And so yeah, so I put it
I
out
like
there.
it.
So yeah,
I like it.
but
Might grab
yes,
one.
what I think also, this is just, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts.
Sure.
I believe that from my perspective and from what I've experienced other people, we have to hit that rock bottom before we really get that transformation, because then we know both sides. We know what it feels like to be down here and then starting to grow. And I think amazing things happen from going through a lot of adversity. Even if it's stuff that we bring on ourselves, we can learn from it. And I think when we get to a place when we're conscious enough to actually get outside of ourselves and really look at what we did or what we used to be like and grow from that, that's all that matters. And another thing too, and I'm going to get ahead of myself. That's why it's important to be aware of the people you have around too, because we're constantly changing. And if you get people around you that constantly want to take a snapshot of your life and hold you to that, those aren't the
Yeah.
right people to have around you. To say, oh, well, you used to. Then if you can keep on saying used to, then you're a used to. Then you be
Yeah.
back there with the used to. While I'm here growing, whether you're convinced or not, that's not my um, problem, or that's not my issue to convince anybody but myself.
Yeah.
So some people, including myself at one point, I can see somebody and say, oh, this is just who they are, and I'm done with that. And that's fine. Somebody can look at me and say, because of who I was before, hey, I don't want anything else to do with you, and that's fine. But don't
Mhm.
come and impede my growth by trying to continuously put me down and remind me of who I used to be. Don't do that, because you will
Yes.
be obsolete, you know. But yeah, go ahead. So if I
Yeah.
would have asked you years ago, yeah, you wouldn't know, but now you're growing and you're here. So how did
Yeah,
that go ahead?
I
Go ahead.
really love that you're talking about that because I've been thinking about this podcast for like all these weeks that we set it up, and what the things we're going to talk about.
Right,
Because all podcast hosts are just totally different. Some ask just specific questions to
right,
the same questions to different people. I mean, there's just so many ways. So I'm glad that we're like very open to talk about things because so many things ran through my mind when we were talking or when I
right,
was like imagining what our conversation would be like.
right.
But I feel like I love that you said that we're constantly evolving, but I probably said that in my bio. It's something that I like constantly say. And I
No, but
try
it's
to
true.
just
Go
it,
ahead.
it really is because I feel like every day is just a new day and I really love it. And it's not something so cliche to say like, oh, every day is a new day. Like it really legit is. Last Thursday, what are we? Monday, what was that like 5 days ago, 4 days ago?
Right.
I had a tree branch actually fall on my head and bust my head open. So I had like blood pouring out and I like knocked out for like a second. But because I saw the blood, it like woke me up and I was like, okay, immediately I went into like regulating my body and making sure that all my vitals were, normal so I wouldn't go out. And and then I had Peter, take me to the closest fire station because we live out on Gibson Canyon. But I mean, it's like a whole thing. But so this is really beautiful that we had our podcast on Monday, right? Everything aligns for a reason, because ever since that, I've been in like so many accidents. Like I've had so many things happen to me, but never have I ever had my head hit. And that was like something totally different. I have a tumor in my brain, but like that's still something internal. But that was like, whoa, like really eye-opening for me, and it just really affirmed how I feel of how every single day is a new day, and how beautiful that is. And if you could just be on that one positive belief that every day is a beautiful day, you're
Right.
going to see beauty every single day no
Right.
matter what.
And I like you said
So
that. I like that you said that, and not to cut you off, but I want
yeah,
to
no
inject
problem.
on that is I'm a firm believer that whatever you're looking for, that's what you find. So if you're a person that likes to quarrel or likes to be upset or likes to sensitive to things, and then things in your life are going
Always
to
be that. Yeah,
always going
always
to
be
be
that.
that. But if you
Yeah.
tell yourself that, hey, you know what, no matter what I encounter, I'm going to be balanced, I'm going to be calm. It doesn't have any control over me. I have control over me. I choose to be happy whether I have this or don't have that, whether I feel like I'm have an abundance of money or whether I don't, whether I'm going here or being occupied with something or not, because that's another thing too. And you'll hear me just go off, especially if you spark some type of thought. Oftentimes in life we look for things to keep us occupied all the time in order to be happy, and it's like sometimes sit still and learn to be happy with just yourself. You don't always have to have a destination, like, okay, I'm not happy unless I'm going here, unless I'm spending money here, unless I'm doing that, unless I'm buying this, unless I'm
Yeah.
driving this, unless I'm no. When you do that, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to be up and down, volatile, depending on what's happening, is going to control who you are. And you need to take control of who you are, which I'm talking to me as well. We need to take control of who we are. And you're right, to go back, every day is a new day. And that's why I always say, too, I'm a work in progress and a masterpiece, which means, I'm perfect in my own ways. And what I mean by being a masterpiece is I'm going through exactly what I'm supposed to, that's unique for my path, whether it seems like it or not. It's always, oh, I wish I would have knew this or I wouldn't have did this. But everybody, I believe, is going through the path, going through their own unique path that is beneficial to their growth. And if you are aware of that, then you can grow and become that person you're supposed to be, and keep becoming. We're always becoming. That's why I also say reaching towards my higher self, not I've reached my higher self, because I don't think anyone could ever reach their highest self. That's just my perspective. I think the process of always growing is the
Yeah.
magic right there.
Yeah, and and I just want to throw this in there. So I am the same way. I'm always like thinking about constantly growing, but I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I think like, when am I gonna hit that growth where I want to be and enjoy that for a long period of time?
Right, right,
And so I do kind of battle with that in ways, but in a positive way. I'm not like, putting myself down or spiraling down just because I'm like upset about it. It's more like, will I ever reach this like point of like where I'm super satisfied of where I'm at and who I am, and I can just wallow in that for the rest of my
right,
days on earth or
right,
beyond. So I do often wonder that. I do like the idea of constantly growing, but I also like the idea of getting to that growth and then
right.
wallowing in that and masterpiecing that part, once I reach that. But how do we know, and that's why like I feel like this branch on my head was such like a thing of like, oh, you are already that. You don't even have to think
You
about it,
are
just
that.
be that.
It,
Just be it.
you are that. It's just that we're constantly looking, and we have to slow ourselves down because we're constantly looking. um from my perspective, what I see as far as a lot of human nature, and I can't speak for everyone, but just from my
Yeah.
perspective, we're always looking in other places other than where we're at right now. So
Yeah.
that's why you think you haven't gotten there yet. And on top of that, as the days progress, as time, the illusion of time continues to move on, you want different things. So therefore, it feels like that you're not that person you want to be at, because the person that you want to be right now may not be the same person you want to be 6 months from now, or the same interests. Like, I've changed a lot of focuses over the past even few months, that at first I was like this, I was really adamant about this, and I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal now. Now it's this. So
Yeah.
in that aspect, I don't think you're gonna ever, I mean, I gotta be careful how I say this because words have power.
Yeah.
But
It
you're,
does.
like you said it simply. Not, I don't want to try to complicate things. You're already there,
Yeah.
and just, you just have to know it. Just like right
Yeah.
now, I'm perfect the way I am right at this moment. Don't
Yeah.
compare it to anything else. Don't
Yeah.
compare it to who you used to be or how you could be tomorrow, but how you are
Mhm.
right now. Right now, you're perfectly at peace. You're where you want to be. You're talking to me. I'm where I want to be. I'm talking to you, and we're
And that's
breathing.
already, yeah, it's already beautiful.
It's beautiful, and we're in this moment now. So you have and it's up to you to, like, I'll use one of your words, reciprocate that same energy over and over again. It's
Constantly.
only you can stop reciprocating that energy and feeling that way. So then it's in your mind, it's in your perspective, that you're not wallowing in it constantly. Why not?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not? it's
Why
it's in
not?
our
Yeah.
we're our own um
Yeah.
worst enemy we can be.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'll be a little more specific to maybe like help the conversation, but
Right.
more like let's say like money, right?
Right.
So something that I was thinking about before my head got hit was money. So I don't have an issue with money. I used to. I was homeless, like money was so hard for me to come by because I wanted it to be so pure. I wanted to do things for free. I wanted to use my gifts for free. I didn't want to charge. I wanted to change the world by not charging for things and just doing things just because and that didn't get me anywhere in this world. And I was kind of like, man, God, why does it have to be like money? Why do I have to buy property? Why can't I just go and find my property and then establish there?
Right.
Why was I born in this time of where we have to have money to get things?
Yes.
What stopped the trading? What stopped like bartering and using skills or even just your words, your knowledge, things like that? Because back in the
Right.
day, there wasn't money. There was just, hey, I got this, I got lemons. And then this person's like, I got oranges, let's switch.
Right.
So why did that stop? Because money was an issue for me and now it's not, but I still kind of don't like it. Even though I don't have a problem with it, I still am like, why can't we all just like barter and trade? And now that I
Right.
have a
Or
ranch,
just create your own. Like, yeah,
yeah,
who,
why
who
was I
actually
like,
owns the earth that you can say, this
oh
is
my
mine
gosh,
and you have to buy this from me? Who said
I
that?
did
That's yours.
I did a podcast. Well, I actually made a comment on something years ago, and the woman, she had a podcast. She was from Australia, and she was like, "Hey, I need you on my podcast because my comment said, I want to know who the landlords of the earth are, and I want to sit at their table, and I just want to have a conversation.
Right.
And how did they decide what this was, that
Yeah.
was like? I didn't decide
Who's,
to live in
yeah,
America. If
you're
I was
buying
born
land. Yeah.
yeah, like when I turned
From
18,
who?
if I had the choice, I wouldn't choose to be here in the USA. I know it
Hmm.
for sure I wouldn't because of where I was born and raised.
Right.
So it's like, why can't we choose? And I think that's really cool because I think one day it is going to go back to that. I really truly do. I homestead. I don't have electricity where I'm at, but I have solar, I have water, I
Right.
have a well, I have things that I need, and I have goats that eat all the weeds and whatnot. And I mean, we've really like kind of like established this way of living on the earth, and that was everything that I ever wanted. So when I
Right.
say that, like, I'm here, I'm doing it, I reached everything. It's just more like, why is this still about money? It's not even me that has the problem. It's more like, I don't want to see it around, I'm not
Right,
asking for the
right. No,
money.
that's a
I'm
whole,
just,
see,
it's
we're
just
gonna
a
have to have
thing.
a whole different
Right.
podcast, because that's a whole different thing that we can talk about, because I resonate with you with that, because I
And it's not like
questions
a,
go through my head like, okay, when you say buying land from who? Who said that you
yeah,
own this?
yeah.
The
Why
earth
did I
is
have
for
to buy that?
everybody. And then
Hmm.
on top of that, I'm just gonna touch on this just a little bit. Um, a lot of this, especially while we're here in the US, and I'm not going to talk down about the country I've been in, but at the same
Hmm.
time, I can express my feelings, which is this, and it's true. It's a capitalistic Western, consumer driven culture. And I just really am, as I'm getting older and more aware, I'm leaning away from it too, because
Right.
even my
It's
wife and
weird.
I, we're definitely, after I finish retire and get everything I'm supposed to get, we're moving out of the country and more a place where it's more slower. I even have like visions and dreams of myself staying in like Tibet in some of the temples, and
Yeah.
going to India and some
The
of those places where
Himalayas.
those people, they live in places where there's no electricity and no one
Yeah.
owns stuff, per
Yeah.
se, and
It's
there's no
beautiful.
money exchange. They grow their own foods. They
Yeah.
this and that. Everybody takes care of one another,
The
and
village.
the
Exactly.
villages and things like that. So
Mhm.
that still
So
does
beautiful.
exist. You have to get there. And that still does exist.
It does.
Yeah.
It
If you
does.
ever get a chance to read some books by Paramahansa Yogananda,
Okay.
you get into the visions of how they were living. They you know traveling across India, and just people take you in, and you can stay
Yeah.
wherever you want, and you pull your own weight. It's not about how much money you have, and they feed you, and you can still find that in cultures. You can.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
you
I've
do.
known people, I've even talked to people that have sold their houses here in the US and moved straight
On.
up
Yeah.
to
Me
like
too.
India, and they're just like nomads traveling everywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Me
and they
too.
love it.
I just feel it for other people, I guess. And it just really kind of like, I know I'm not supposed to feel for other people and whatnot in those ways, but it does. It makes me wonder, when the US is also going to get on that vibe, because it's a
Right,
beautiful vibe. And the US is so beautiful. I've been to about
right.
40 states. I've seen so much of the US. I may not have
Yeah,
ever
right,
traveled outside of the US, but I've seen a lot of the US compared to a lot of people that I know. And
right.
that would be so beautiful for us to just enjoy what we have here. The US would be, it could still be a central thing, but it is centrally based for money, and people
It
do want
is.
to come here, and they think it's just so beautiful, which I do think our country is beautiful, but I
Right,
do run into a lot of people that are not aware. They're so consumed by the consumerism that they
right.
can't see outside of the
The
consumerism.
capitalism. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
my family is, the biggest for that, and I that's why I feel a lot, I think, is because I'm the generational breaker. I'm the one that's shifting our family into a new world, and
yeah.
so it is a lot. But
More perspectives and more,
uh,
yeah, check out this perspective. What about this?
yeah,
Causing people to thinking for yourself, and
yeah,
not just allowing TV news, like you
yes,
said, consumerism, and what this is supposed to make you happy. If you have this kind of car, if you drive like this, if you dress this way, if you
yeah,
have this jewelry, if you have this, then that makes you. No, when you strip all that away, and let me say this for a second, and just be naked, who are you then?
yeah,
Does
exactly.
this stuff do you have to this is part of your identity, this car, because you drive a Ferrari, that makes you more special? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, can
Or
you
the
eat?
makeup on your
Yeah,
face, just things like that.
can you eat that stuff? Will it sustain you? And I even seen a quote, and it has an Indian picture on there saying that man will, it's something about, I don't know exactly, but it says men will realize um one day that they cannot eat money. So
Yeah,
therefore, you can pollute the earth, you can keep doing this and doing that, industries and all that, and killing off the planet, polluting the waters for the sake of gaining uh monetary wealth. But when that's all dead, what is that money going to do for you? Nothing.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
no healthy planet to live on, it's going to do nothing for you.
Yeah, I see a lot of countries that take care of their oceans and their villages, their
Right,
islands, things like
right,
that. And sometimes I even think so far as to like, what if the US just kind of like sinks or things happen to where the US just kind of disappears
right,
and then what? It's gonna be the lucky ones that were able to know people outside of countries or whatnot, or have planes or have boats, or
right.
it's gonna be the lucky ones that, or the chosen ones for more perspective, that are going to be able to move to other countries and establish their bloodlines. And I don't know if it gets that deep. Again, it's weird to be in
No,
a
it's good to ponder
spiritual.
that though. No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's so cool to ponder because we're like spiritual beings,
Right,
and it is weird to also be like, but I'm also a physical being, and what does the physical
right,
being mean? Because my spiritual just has all these hopes and dreams and
right.
aspirations, and like I live in this fantasy world, but I also live in this physical world, and I live in
Physical.
US, and I
Yeah,
also live in the Bay Area, right? So
yeah.
it gets like really, small when you look at it objectively, but I just I love kind of being in that area, but I also just kind of wish it would just happen in a blink of an eye. And we
Right,
were all
right.
just kind of like where we're
If you ever
supposed
get
to
a
be.
chance, and I don't know if you know, but just look up Billy Carson on
Billy Carson.
Billy
Okay.
Carson, and he talks about that what you just talking about, and he calls this body that we have basically an avatar, that our
Yeah.
spirit is in it, and you
Yeah.
know, and it's not really us. It's
Yeah.
just we're in this vehicle. But he talks about a lot of. Just start listening to some of his stuff and tell me what you think.
Okay. Yeah,
Billy
yeah, I sure
Billy
will. Yeah.
Carson. He has this app too that like sort of like a Netflix, but it's called Hidden Knowledge TV. He has his own app, but you can watch a lot of his stuff. Go on YouTube and just look up Billy Carson and just start listening to a few of his conversations, and I think you'll resonate with a lot of the stuff he talks about.
Cool, cool. Yeah, no, I
He
love
travels to a
it.
lot of countries too, and that's one thing you mentioned too. I've been fortunate that I have traveled to a
Mhm.
few different countries. Just got back from Curacao, and that's right off the coast of
Yeah.
Venezuela. And just knowing, I believe everybody should travel because that way they can get a take on different cultures. And I
Mhm.
think, and I can tell now, a lot of times when I'm just meeting the average, quote unquote, average Joe out there in society, whether they're traveled or not, or whether they're just really constricted in their thinking. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's either they traveled physically or mentally. You can travel mentally.
I was
And I
just
can
gonna
tell,
say I'm the mental traveler.
even though you haven't traveled outside physically, you've traveled mentally, and I can tell, and that's just amazing that you have all these perspectives, and I think that's where um I resonate, and we have these similarities with each other. And I think that's amazing when you meet people and you say, you know what, you don't even know them, and you have the things that they start talking about doesn't seem far-fetched to you. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And
We're like,
not exactly the way that you thought about it, but I've thought about those things that you said on those same lines. Like,
yeah.
the way America's built on consumerism, and commercials are thrown at you that you can't be happy unless you have this, and pharmaceuticals when everything um
Yeah,
is
it's so weird.
plant-based. And then not to really get into the controversial thing, but then whenever you have somebody rise up and start making people aware of there's natural things to cure you, and then next thing you know,
Mhm.
they mysteriously disappear. And it's like we have to get away from that too, because
Yeah.
just because of the name of money, this guy is, like Dr. CB. He was, if you look up him, he was
Yep. I do know
finding,
Dr. Sebi. Yep.
yes, finding all these herbs that can cure things, and then
Hmm.
next thing you know, he's gone. And it's
Yeah.
like, because in my perspective, he was a threat to pharmaceutical companies, which generate money. And it's like, wait a minute, man, everything is on earth, naturally, um,
Yeah.
for our health. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
why
Love it.
hide that and just monetize everything that's good for you naturally? Stop doing that. It's like we need to, as a society, we need to stop that. And it's
Yeah.
like,
It's just
Yeah,
strange. I think I don't know if it's like the older I get or the more spiritual I get or the
right.
combination of
Just more
both.
awake. You're getting more conscious of things.
It's just more like that's weird, that just doesn't really make sense. A lot of
Right,
things just kind of don't make sense to me.
right,
And I feel like people do kind of listen to me now because it's like I'm just kind of talking about it in such an average Joe way. Well, that
right,
just doesn't necessarily make sense to me. If I can do
right.
something this way, why would I do it that way?
See,
It's like,
you know what? And I just gotta highlight that. You are what more people need to be, which means thinking for themselves and not thinking in the way that they've been indoctrinated and programmed to think, like
yeah,
robots, like
yeah,
clones. You're thinking outside of the box. You're thinking for yourself. You're questioning things that other people don't even think about questioning. They just get fed this and this is the way and that's it. They don't think. And
yeah.
more of us need to think. The good part is, I believe, from what I see, especially on the internet, more people are connecting and waking up and thinking. So I think we're heading in the right direction because more people
I do. I do think
like
so
like
too.
like not to pat
I
myself
do.
on the back, but just like this show right here, I'm doing my part in putting these types of conversations out there. So
Yeah.
then, okay, some people can, you know, and I
Or
gotta,
just, or maybe just relate in the sense of like, oh, I thought about that too, or I don't like that either, or I
you're
do
not
like
alone.
that. Or,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
not
you're just
alone, and
like, oh my God.
you don't have to feel shunned and feel like you got to be quiet
Yeah.
because you might be considered crazy or all that
Yes.
stupid. No, now you listen to somebody talk about it, it gives you more
Yeah.
strength and power. Like, no, I'm not the only one that thinks this way. More,
Yeah.
because everybody has that intuition, that them intuitive gifts. It's just that a lot of people ignore them. You know,
Yeah, because one subject I did want us to talk about, it kind of leads into this, is like one question I put out on TikTok that kind of blew up. And then I deleted it because I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to get too crazy. But it's like nowadays, okay, so for example, back then the Bible talks about how people talked to God and then they wrote these stories, right?
right, right,
And so I asked this question on TikTok and I'm like, why did the Bible stop being written? Who got to say that? Who was like, hey, there's no more prophets on earth. There's no more people
right,
that can say what
right,
God said. Like nothing. It just stopped and here's a book and you're
and
going to
that's
live by
it.
this forever.
Yeah.
And then there's the people that are radical where they're just like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
no, you got to do this by the
Yeah.
Bible, right? So
Don't
I like
question.
the Bible. I like Jesus. I like Muslim. I like all the cultures. I think they're
Yeah.
all interesting. And that's why it also helps me and empowers me to think for myself the way that I want to think. Because what if I'm a new religion? What if I'm a new prophet? What if, I
Right.
don't know. Because
Because
if I were to,
people, yeah, you're right. Because
yeah,
man wrote those words. That Bible didn't
yeah,
drop out the sky.
it didn't.
Some people wrote that.
And
Man
if I
wrote
were to
that.
say, "Oh, I'm talking to God," they would be like, "You're crazy. You're going to a mental asylum." But it's like, but back then, and it'd be the same people that are like, "Oh, you didn't do this by the Bible," and you're like trying to tell them, "Yeah, God spoke to me," and they're like, "You're crazy," but you're listening to a Bible that was written like thousands of years ago that
Thousands of
has
years
no
ago.
relevance today.
It has
Like,
no relevance. Talks a lot about
so,
slavery. Talks a lot about killing.
but it does
Also,
have cool,
it does
like,
have some good.
wise words.
That's why
It's
you need to
just
listen to Billy Carson. And you know what? I'm gonna find a couple of segments to kick you off, to start
Mhm.
you off, and
Okay.
when which he actually talks about the Bible, and you'll see. And
Yeah,
oh,
it's
you're
just
gonna
weird.
like
Just
you're gonna
weird.
like what he says too.
Yeah,
He does a
I'm sure I
lot of
will.
questioning and a lot of logical thinking. I'm gonna get you a couple of links when we get off this show, and when we conclude this segment, and I'm gonna send them to you in your email.
Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. Because a lot of those responses on that video was like really crazy, but I'm like, but that still doesn't answer my question of why it stopped. And
Exactly.
who got to say who was a prophet? And a lot of the comments said that the Bible was stopped written because of the 12 apostles were gone. And I was like, but the 12 apostles weren't the only people that wrote the Bible.
Right.
So you can't tell me that. So it's like I
Yeah,
just feel
and
like
it's just other men that chose to pick up certain information and put it and exclude certain information and add their own. So it's
Exactly.
just a
And it's the
whole
same
that,
thing
like you
that like
said.
America's built on, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
it's
Oh
really,
yeah.
really interesting because the
It
Bible's a
is.
main thing and the USA is a main thing, and it just like
Right.
doesn't.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. No, I got to send you this because, and then I want you to
Awesome.
email me back after you listen to a few of his segment. Tell me what you
Sure.
think. But yeah, I got
Me
turned
and
on to
Peter can
Billy
listen
Carson
to.
probably earlier this year, and
Okay.
man, and I
Never
don't
heard of
consider
him.
myself a follower of anybody, but I do resonate with a lot of what he says. Not
Okay.
every single thing, but a
Yeah.
lot, and a lot
Yeah.
of what he says has caused my conscience to stretch to like,
Yeah.
because I'm not easily led. I'm like
Me
you.
either.
I think for
Me
myself.
either.
If,
Yeah,
if it's
me
a if
either.
it's an insult to my intuition, to my soul, I'm not
Yeah.
accepting it. Maybe even
Yeah.
if it is right, and maybe later on I'll catch on like, okay. But
Honestly,
if I think for
you're
myself.
like
So that's what
you're
I'm
like
saying.
kind of
And I
like
know that you
in
are
and
that. So I know that I wouldn't suggest him to just anybody if I didn't think they
yeah.
were ready. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because some
Yeah.
people
No, I
just
love
take
it.
everything law that somebody says, like, oh, no, that's not
Yeah.
right. No, you have to take what you feel is
Yeah.
useful and discard what is not. I'm not saying that just because I'm suggesting this man to you that every word he says is law.
It's
I'm
like law.
saying
Yeah.
I
No,
think
it's
that you're
totally.
open enough to get something out of it. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, no
Yeah,
problem. And I love talking about like the Bible stuff because it is interesting. It does like it is weird that money, that USA, that God, that the Bible kind of like runs the world. Like it is
right.
really weird. And it's also weird that like the court systems is all under God. If you look at your dollar bill,
Oh,
it's
right,
gonna
right,
say
right,
in God we trust. And I'm like,
right,
well, who's God? Because
right,
you
right,
bring God into the court and you're crazy. You're going to a mental home if you
right.
bring God in
Or if
there.
you say God
So
is in me, you're
yeah,
considered crazy.
it's
Yeah,
really like you're really seen as crazy, but yet everything that they are off of in court, judges, all that is God based. And it's so interesting. And I think it's also funny because my father, he's one of those radicals that kind of like everything about the Bible. And he actually named his twins Adam and Eve. They're my
right,
3-year old brother and sisters. They're twins
right.
named Adam and Eve. So I do, he's like, I brought Adam and Eve for the second coming, that's my dad. So
Amazing,
I love
amazing.
to talk about it.
Well, I enjoyed talking to you today, Alyssa, and we got to wrap this up now. But
Let's
I
do it.
appreciate it. We're going to have a number 2, number 3 segment, and I appreciate everyone for watching. Hope you got a lot out of this. Hope this was enjoyable for you. Hit up the website 333empower.com. Get these empowering T-shirts and some more information. See you soon. Love and
See
appreciate.
ya.